Hey everybody, we're back today. We're shooting another video in the middle of the historic ice storm we got going on. As you can see, we got ice all over the place. It's frozen out here. It's been in the single digits. And I want to talk a little bit about how you can slide through this thing easy with good preparation and things that you should do to prepare for an ice storm before it hits. Let's get into it. Hey, so we're excited to finally get another video out. We've been fighting our internet. We haven't had any internet, and with work and preparation for the storm, it just hasn't worked out. So here we are. We're going to shoot our video today talking about winter preparations and things that can be done to slide through this storm nice and easy and not be real worried about much of what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let's do this. So it's good to have a backup source of energy. So I bought this generator a couple years ago, and I got a really good deal on it. If you watch like Tractor Supply's clearance sometimes, we got this generator for right around $600, and normally it was $1,200, but this is a 8750 watt generator, runs at 7,000 watts. This will pretty much run most of our house. Having a backup source of energy means you can still run the hot water heater if you have enough generator to do it. It means you can still do some laundry if you need to. It means you can still take care of some essentials. And this thing's actually pretty good on fuel. This will run like 10 hours on a tank of fuel, and it holds 4 gallons. So if you use it sparingly, I don't run it all day. You just run it long enough to heat up your hot water tank. So you run it for a couple hours. You can cook. Anything you need to do in the house, you kind of manage your power. You can cook. When you're done cooking, you put a little laundry in. You do a few of those things. You can get showers in for your family, and then you're good to go. Shut it off. You can charge up backup battery banks and things like that, phones and stuff while it's running. And then like having another alternate source like battery backup or a solar generator kind of backs you up when this isn't running, so you can stretch your fuel. So with the fuel consumption this uses, I have a larger fuel tank. This holds 14 gallons. I have several 5-gallon cans. I mean, sparingly running the generator, we probably could have stretched this out way beyond a month just with the fuel that we had, the way we were running it. We ran it for a few hours when we lost power yesterday. We only ended up running it for about 2 or 3 hours, and we went through like just over a gallon of fuel. So, I mean, we charged everything up, charged our battery backup, our refrigerator, and our other battery backup unit, and charged up flashlights, phones, anything else we needed, and it was pretty much that simple. So, a good generator is key to being able to get through something like this comfortably. I got this generator set up on a muffler too. So I bought this zombie box kit, which is really cool. I highly recommend it if you're going to put your generator in a closed area. I got it in my well house. I can run this, and all the exhaust goes outside and the muffler quiets it. So you can actually see I got this piped in. It's an adapter kit that came with it, and it's running out the wall through this muffler that you brace up. And I'll show you the outside here in a minute. But that kit sends all your carbon monoxide outside and keeps this fairly clean in here, the air. And works really good for quieting down your generator. This generator runs pretty quiet, especially when I close the door. We have this also, this cord, the regular 30 amp cord runs over to a box. All I have to do is plug this into this box. And after I shut the main breaker off, and right now it shows me there's power. When that's darked out, I know I have no power out here, so I can backfeed this and it'll actually feed the whole house. So that's a cool thing to have. Get a licensed electrician if you can't do it yourself and wire one of these boxes in, and then you can just feed your whole house with your generator. Way easier than trying to run extension cords into everything, and then you can keep your doors closed. Okay, so here's that zombie box muffler on the outside. So you get this steel plate with it. It's stainless and they come painted, and it's got the little port for the exhaust to come out and a sheet metal screw that bolts into the muffler and holds it in place. So you just drill a hole in the wall, you silicone this to the wall, and then your exhaust runs right outside. So that's super nice. I really like that. I got a couple of these Pecron E2000s. These are awesome battery backup units. It is a solar generator, and so if you pan around here, you can see we got these solar panels. I got them drying out right now. I got 4 of them set up out here. I actually have 6 of these, so it'll put 1200 watts into this with full sun. Yesterday with cloud cover, when we were charging this out here, we were actually pulling in 200 to 300 watts with those 4 panels, even with cloud cover. So it works really good. It was charging up fairly quickly. So I have this one as a backup spare, and I can run things off it, charge things. And also we have another one in the house set up on the refrigerator, dedicated solely to the fridge. So I have the charger coming out of the wall, and it's going to the unit, keeping it powered up, and the refrigerator actually plugged into it. So it's designated for taking care of the fridge freezer. That way if the power does go out again, it'll pick it right up. This is the one we got inside, set up on the refrigerator and designated to take care of the refrigerator. This is one way you can do it. We have our refrigerator directly plugged into the front, and then we have our power cord going up to the wall outlet. While you have power or a generator running, it's going to keep this at 100%, which you can see. It's monitoring your usage, and then as soon as you lose wall power, this is going to kick right in and keep your refrigerator going. This can also be recharged with solar panels. So, like I said, having two of them, you can cycle them back and forth if you needed to. If you didn't have external power, you could be charging one and swapping it out. Because most of the time, one of the most crucial things you got to take care of are your groceries in your refrigerator. That's the most expensive loss. So if you can keep that cold and keep everything frozen and refrigerated until you use it up, I mean, that's money ahead. So having one of these could be very useful, and having two could be even better because you can swap them out. And then having the solar panel so you could charge them back up without using generator power can be really big too. So having a backup source of heat is really big, especially something outside of electricity. So we have a wood stove, which is our main backup source of heat. So if your central air is froze up or your electricity is not on, you still got heat. This heats our house really well, but there are some other options that you can get. And we also have those options as another backup source of heat. So whatever source of heat you decide to have as a backup, you need to have plenty of fuel for it. So I keep plenty of firewood around. It's my firewood rack. I've got this here, but I also have about 3 cord out in the barn. So we got lots of firewood. It's not our primary source of heat. We generally use our central air. And so just being backup, I have more than enough wood to last for 2-3 months of cold weather at this rate. So just make sure you got plenty of backup fuel. Like if you run a propane heater like a Mr. Buddy, and that's what we were going to talk about. We've got a few of those Mr. Buddy heaters. They work great. I did a video on them, reviewing them and talking about the different sizes. So you can go over and check that out. But if you got a Buddy heater or propane heater or whatever, make sure you got plenty of propane and fuel for that. So whatever option you choose for backup heat, just make sure you got lots of fuel. So I make sure I got plenty of fuel for this. I have some backup sources for cooking. I got a grill. I got propane flat top, and I keep propane for all that. But also we got the generator so we can cook inside. We can use the microwave. We can do all of that. So just keep in mind, whatever source you have that you're relying on, make sure you got plenty of fuel for it if it requires fuel to run. So our wood stove, we got lots of firewood. Our generator, we got plenty of gasoline, because those things get scarce when trucks can't get in, especially in cold weather like this. Like my daughters work at a grocery store, and they're already talking about trucks being delayed, and they're not going to have groceries in the store probably by the end of the week or until stuff gets stocked back up. And a lot of stores will be that way around here. So make sure you keep plenty of groceries as well. You want to make sure you are stocked up on everything you need. So have dry goods in the house if you don't have a way to refrigerate. But having the generator and having the backup power banks is great for the refrigerator and for refrigeration. We don't got to worry about our freezers. We don't got to worry about our refrigerator. All that stuff runs. So keep that in mind. And we will put some links in the description on some of this stuff. So we'll put the Pecron charger and solar panels in the description, because those are awesome. You can actually add to that Pecron as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more. You can actually add more backup units too. I did review this in another video and talk about it a little bit, but you can double, triple, and quadruple the amount of watt hours this has stored. Right now, this is 2,000 watt hour. You can add a battery backup that's 3,000 watt hour, takes it to 5,000. Then you can add another backup unit on top of that, which takes it up to 8,000 watt hour. So at 8,000 watt hour with 2,000 watts draw, and you can put 2,000 watts worth of solar panel into it on those units, makes it a pretty capable unit. I mean, this thing alone will run my refrigerator by itself with no solar input for like 20 hours. So when you think about that, if you're running it overnight, there's still power left. You can charge phones, flashlights, and other things on it, and then charge it back the next day. That is why I like having two. And so you can juggle them. So you can charge one up. One can be solar charging while the other one's running it. While you got the generator plugged in, it can be charging the other while one's solar charging. You can kind of balance all that out. And so it's just something to think about. Having a couple of these and being able to balance them with your generator creates a lot of opportunity for power and things and keeping things up and going. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. And then also, like I said, you can get the battery backup units, which I am going to add at least one this year to this, so it'll over double the amount of watt hours I have available to use. So hurricane lamps are a really good thing to keep around. Having plenty of hurricane lamps, we hang them up as decoration, but also can be used as lighting. And having plenty of lamp oil. I got cases of this stuff. It's not that expensive. You keep plenty of it around. Same thing with wicks. Keep plenty of wicks for these. And then you have lighting, so you're not consuming power for your light. So we have 7 or 8 of these hanging throughout the house. You could take it down, take it into the bathroom with you, put it back. I keep 2 of them in the living room. And then we have 1 in the kitchen, 1 back in the dining room, and then a couple of them in the back of the house. And then you have an option to move them around. And they make nice decorations too. Keep them up on the wall, but they're always there ready to use. And plenty of lamp oil so that you don't run out. Candles are another good thing to keep around. Have plenty of candles and flashlights. So if you have flashlights, rechargeables are good. But sometimes those old-fashioned flashlights that just take batteries can actually be better, because when you can't charge or you don't have an option to charge, being able to rotate out batteries and just throw old batteries away, put new batteries in, can be big. Just stockpile on some batteries and you're good to go for a while. So lighters and matches. If you're using candles, hurricane lamps, or anything else that you have to light, you've got wood heat, lighters and matches are always a great thing to think about. I keep a lot of them around. I'm actually really starting to like these. These are becoming a new favorite. I love starting a fire with the ferro rod, but this is just easy. And this new setup that they've got, it's kind of like a cigarette lighter combined with a barbecue lighter. It's some new thing that Bic's doing. I don't know who else is doing it. I don't know who started it, but I like these. I keep one of these in my pocket all the time, and I keep one in my fire starting kit. But that right there is great for a light, and for lighting your candles and your hurricane lamps, that's great for getting in there. And it's small. It's not like a great big barbecue lighter where you got to have this big lighter on you. Throw this in your pocket, you're good to go. Having matches and things like that too can be good. Matches are a great backup. I always keep a lot. Storm matches, waterproof matches can be good, but just having boxes of matches around your house for backup are really good in case your lighters run out of fuel or they don't want to light. So keep that in mind too. You always want a way to light your stuff that you're going to be depending on. So in weather like this, in a lot of conditions, having a capable vehicle really matters. Having a good 4-wheel drive can go a long ways, and you don't have to have something as extreme as beast mode back here, but having a 4-wheel drive that's pretty capable with a little bit of lift and some off-road tires can make a big difference when the weather gets like this. You got inches of ice, snow piled on top of it. This stuff is hard packed too. You can't hardly sink into this stuff. This is hard ice. And so what we decided to do to beast mode, we put these studs in it. I want to show you these because I was actually pleasantly surprised. I ordered these on Amazon. I bought 500 for $54, and I couldn't believe how well they worked. So it comes with a little insertion tool and all these little studs. They say they're tungsten. I'm not sure they are, but regardless, you just thread each one in. You make sure that they're short and shorter than the depth of the lug, so you don't go all the way through the tire and put a hole in your tire, but you just thread them in. And we did one in each lug on the outer 3 rows. We didn't even do the inner row, which I have enough left. I'm thinking about doing it, but I was so shocked at how well these work. Now, one thing I do recommend is before you spin tires or anything, you take them down the pavement or down the hard packed ice and run slow for a while and kind of bed these in a little deeper, because it'll only go to the shoulder. And I'm afraid if you spun tires, you'd rip them out. But after I bedded them, they were good. I took it down my property over here and spun tires coming all the way back up and didn't lose a single stud. So they're bedded in there pretty good. And we took it down the icy roads. We went for a drive the other night with it right after I'd done it. And I couldn't even tell it was icy. And if anybody knows 4-wheel drives, you know that wide tires are horrible on ice. They slide like skis when you hit the brakes. They tend to spin when you go to accelerate. I didn't get any of that. I mean, we took off no problem, like it wasn't even icy, and braked real good. I even tried it after I'd gotten comfortable with it a couple times. I hit the brakes pretty good. It didn't slide at all. So if anybody's looking to stud some old 4-wheel drive tires or get some traction in the ice, these little screw-in studs work pretty good. These are just a 4mm by 9mm long, and they do make longer and shorter. They even make them the next size up, but they were all sold out. But yeah, Amazon, I'll put a link to those too. I mean, I highly recommend those for your 4-wheel drives. They work great. So if you've been prepping for any amount of time, you know the value of having animals. And chickens are one of my favorite because they give you eggs. They're a great food source. We keep chickens, but in an ice storm, you want to make sure your chickens live too to keep producing eggs. So putting plenty of bedding down, which we'll show you guys. We have a lot of bedding in here. You want to make sure that they have plenty of wood chip that they can bury into that'll help insulate the floor. Right now, with the power on, it's not such a big deal because we have all the windows closed and we got a heat lamp in here, which actually keeps it really warm. Their water is not freezing. Everything's staying pretty warm in here. But you want to make sure you keep plenty of bedding down. So we got about 4 to 6 inches of chip down, and they can burrow around in that stuff if they need to. So think about your animals. We got rabbits. We give them plenty of bedding. That's something we just recently did before all this happened, is went and got a bunch of straw and hay for them. And we put it in there so that way they could build nests, which they did. They built nests and are bedding. We'll walk out there and go talk about it. We added bedding for our rabbits, and we'll show you this. They actually built nests. We'll show you our meat rabbits here, which we're going to have to add some more water there, but they're actually built nests in this hay, and they'll crawl up underneath and they'll warm themselves so they don't get cold, and they do extremely well. So they survive this cold no problem. And same thing for your larger animals. Make sure you got plenty of hay. Our pig, we did the same thing. We put straw out there for him, and he built and burrowed in it. So he built himself a hay nest with a tunnel, which you can see it back in there a little bit if you look through there. You can see he built himself a hay nest, and he'll crawl in there and burrow up under it, and it'll keep him nice and warm. So make sure you think about your animals. If you have animals, you want to make sure you get stuff ahead of time, usually before the cold sets in. So those are things to think about. You know, you want to think ahead. The fuel for your generator, you know, if that's what you have, the wood for your wood stove, extra propane for anything that takes propane, make sure you get plenty of it. You know, this storm they were talking about, this could last a month-long power outages for a lot of people. They were saying that it could be even longer than that in some places. We were calling for at least 1 to 2 weeks possible. Luckily, we haven't seen that. We've had about 7 to 8 hours with power out the other day, which ain't too big of a deal. I mean, we breezed right through that, no problem. But we were set up. You can see, just kind of showing you what we've got and what we're doing. We were set up for whatever it took. We could go a month, 2 months. But we didn't just prepare for this. We're typically always prepared. We do our best. Our preparations are always growing. We're always adding, fixing things that didn't work out. I kind of like these little runs. This would have been longer, wouldn't have been too big of a deal because we would have got to try some of our stuff out longer. But there's no better dry run than actually running it through an emergency. So you get something like this where you have a huge snowstorm move in, and it's a good opportunity to test out how you set up and how you prepared. And I mean, we breezed through that little short term without power with no issue. It was really nothing. But just all the different things we've done, we watch it kind of work, and we're happy with it. Like I said, I do want to add more to our solar generator. I want to add another battery bank, maybe 2 to it over time. They're kind of expensive. Those ones aren't horrible. They're down to around $500 for the extra banks. That's not as bad as they used to be. Solar used to be expensive. It's come down a long ways. But that is something I do want to build on, is my solar capability. But we also have backup water. I want to talk about that a little bit. Water can be kind of difficult, especially if you break a line or bust a pipe. So make sure any lines that are exposed, you know, you're covering them up outside. You're bleeding out outside water lines. We got water line running to the barn. We shut it off. Make sure you drain the water out off our well house where we use the water for our chickens. We also bled that out, shut the pump off, and we heat the inside of our well house with a small heater, which helps. So those are all good things to think about. You know, when you're thinking about water and water sources, you want to make sure that those backup water sources that you have don't freeze up and you have an option to use them. So if we did break a line to the house and we had no more water coming in, we got our well. And so we could also, because we have city water as well as well water, and so our well's backup source of water, but we also have a rainwater catch barrel we could use as well. And there's ice and snow on the ground you can melt and boil too right now, but you just always want to think about those backup sources of water, and also protecting your water lines and making sure all your pipes don't freeze. So think about those things. Insulated covers over outside faucets are big. They help a lot. And like I said, making sure you drain all your outside water lines can be really important, you know, and same with your animals. Make sure you're keeping fresh water. We put warm water in the pig's trough. That way it stays good for quite a while, keeps from freezing up on them. Those are all things to think about when you're talking about cold weather preparation. So we'll move on. Let's go to the next thing. So another thing I'm thinking about doing, which you could think about as well if you're looking at battery backup or like a solar generator, is add a separate set of solar panels. Now what I'm thinking about doing is adding a solar panel array, buying hard panels and wire them in outside my well house, and then wiring it in so it's permanently ready to go. And so those hard panels can stay out all the time. And then I'll make them so they swivel so I can position them according to the best sunlight, and feed my solar generator inside the well house, because I can also backfeed my house through the well house through that generator port with one of those. I have an adapter for the 30 amp RV plug that crosses over, and it energizes both sides of the 110. It doesn't give you 240, but it does energize both sides of the 110, which powers all the 110 in the house. So for nighttime use and when you're not running your generator, it works really well. So if we did that, added that hard solar panel set, you just have to keep the ice off of it, but it would work really good in a scenario like this where it's pretty well plug and play and you don't have to set up all those outside panels. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. So having communication can be big too. With a lot of this storm, we're seeing long-term power outages possible. They're talking about some of the worst areas over a month. A lot of areas are going to see a week without power, and this ice storm is going to stick around for a little while. So I highly recommend things like this radio. This is a Voyager Pro by Kato. This is a pretty cool radio. It's got solar. It's got a built-in light, so you could charge it up, and also has a crank, so you can power it up if it's dead and you don't have access to sunlight. But it's an emergency band radio, so you can actually listen to all the emergency stations. It has weather alert and a bunch of cool functions and features, so you can stay connected and figure out what's going on out there, even if you're blacked out in the storm. And another cool thing with some of these, especially like the Voyager, it has a USB charging port, so you can charge your phone in an emergency off of this with the solar. So very, very cool. It does have AM, FM, and it has a clock and some other features in it too. So I highly recommend getting an emergency radio so you can stay tuned into what's going on and you know what's happening out there, so you can figure out if power is going to be restored, what the conditions are looking like, and what the weather is looking like a little further out with all your weather bands. So we'll go ahead and link one of these in the description too. This has been a really good one. We've had this one for quite a few years and I really like it. You know, the Kato makes some good radios and they're fairly inexpensive. They're anywhere from $30 to $80 depending on which one you get. So we'll go ahead and throw a link to that in the description as well, along with some of the other things that we've mentioned. You know, and if you're just getting started in this and you're on a budget, you can always start small. They make smaller, inexpensive emergency radios. They do make smaller, inexpensive power banks, which I have a small unit that takes a 50-watt solar panel, and it's a great way to charge phones and flashlights, and they're a lot less expensive. We're talking $100 right at for the battery unit, and then we're talking another $40 for a solar panel. So for $140, you can have a source of backup power to charge flashlights, charge your cell phone, charge some other things. And then, like I said, you can get these emergency radios for $40 to $60. I would say for a few $100, you could put together a pretty decent preparedness plan, and it's not overly expensive just to get started. You know, I realize not everybody has the budget to go out and buy an expensive generator. So things you build over time, and I've been at this a long time. So I just kind of want to put that out there. Sometimes you can start smaller and work your way up, but just make sure that you're thinking about things in priorities, especially with the things that you need for your families to survive this kind of weather with the power outage. So some other things to think about are make sure you got plenty of food. Always got beans and rice. I got plenty of food put away, plenty of dry goods. Top ramen's another one that's really good to keep. Cup of noodles, canned goods, things like that are non-perishable. Those are great things to have. Make sure you got plenty of them. I always recommend at least a month's worth of food is a good place to start for your family. And then medical supplies. Make sure you got plenty of medical supplies. You know, like I mentioned earlier, right now they're talking about not having supplies coming into stores. We're even talking about some gasoline shortages. I know some of the local gas stations right now are actually running out of fuel. So that being said, make sure you have plenty of gas cans, all that stuff stocked up. And I realize some people are on a tight budget and things like that, but just making sure that you prioritize some of the things you absolutely need, the essential items like your food, your water source, making sure you got a backup source of heat, and then some light. Those are the biggest ones. If you got those covered, you're good to go. Make sure you're staying warm enough, make sure you got the food you need, make sure you got backup sources of water, and then I do recommend having plenty of fuel for the things that you are going to be using, whether it's batteries for flashlights, fuel for oil lamps, propane or wood for your backup source of heat, whatever it is. Make sure you got plenty of backup fuel for those. And then medical supplies comes next. You should have plenty of medical supplies in your home at your disposal because you don't want to have an accident and not be able to get out. This weather's bad. I don't recommend people get out and drive. If you have a capable four-wheel drive, and kind of like I did where you studded your tires, it makes a big difference. I feel safe and confident that I can get out and go do some things, get some supplies, whatever I need to do. I could refuel if I can, but I don't recommend people drive because it is dangerous out there. And with these icy conditions, there's been a lot of accidents, a lot of people die. So just keep that in mind. The last thing is vehicle preparedness. You want to make sure that if you do have to leave, which I don't recommend in the ice or the snow, make sure you take the right things with you. Grab your go bag or your get home bag. Make sure you got a wool blanket or enough blankets for people in the vehicle that if you do break down, you don't freeze, and always take a jacket with you. That's something we don't always think about. We leave the house, we're just running to the store, we're just running somewhere, whether we're going to work or whatever we're doing. A lot of times we leave our jackets at home. Always take a winter jacket with you because you never know when you're going to break down. And another thing is your firearm. You always want to make sure that you have your firearm on you, especially if you're leaving in the winter, even if you're going on a short run. If you do break down on the side of the road, you don't know who that next person is going to stop. That may not be the person you want to stop. So I definitely recommend keeping your firearm on you, having some basic supplies in your vehicle, keeping those blankets in your vehicle all the time, and just having a box set up in your vehicle is good with some basic supplies, separate from your get home bag or your go bag. So some things to think about. Hope everybody stays safe out there in this winter storm, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. If this is the kind of thinking that speaks to you, hit subscribe. I'll be covering gear, prepping systems, homestead tactics, and off-grid survival. Don't get caught off guard. Let's get ready together.